Today I want to talk to you about fine-tuning your irrigation systems to help conserve water. Everybody loves an in-ground automatic irrigation system. However, they're only as good as they have been designed and managed. And a couple of issues that we typically see with the design part of it is that people try to stretch their money a little bit, try to save by cutting corners. And one of those is by trying to irrigate as much as they can on one valve or one zone. And that really isn't good in the long run. You're probably going to waste water, and you're probably not helping the plants any, because often what happens is we're irrigating our turf grasses at the same time that we're watering flower beds and shrub beds, etc. And those types of plants have different watering needs. So you need to break it up. Make sure that you go ahead and install a few extra valves, a few extra zones, and zone your irrigation based on the groupings of the plants and the plant watering needs. Another problem we often see is people trying again to stretch their dollars by stretching the spacing between the heads or the spray patterns. Now each sprinkler head has a maximum spray distance, and so you want to make sure that those heads are spaced properly. Water distribution becomes less the further away from you get from the head itself. So let's say you set your heads so that the spray patterns are just barely touching each other. If you do that, there's very little water getting in the middle, but a lot of water at the head, where the heads are, and so you're going to have a deficiency in irrigation or water. So you need to make sure that you space your heads so that the spray pattern is reaching from head to head. Another problem we have is pressure regulation. Pressure coming from the source or from the house is often much greater than the components that are designed to operate under. For example, we often see pressures as high as 70, 80, 90 psi at the source, where pop-up spray heads like these really operate under 30 psi. And so there's several ways you can approach that. The first one is to actually install a pressure regulator at the source where you've connected into the main system. Second is you can apply or install pressure regulators at the valves, and you can have spray heads that also have pressure regulation built into them. And a lot of the manufacturers are doing that now to help improve efficiency of the heads. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at one of the pressure regulators at a valve. Here we have a typical automatic irrigation valve, and we have a pressure regulator on the valve itself. And basically, when you get the valve, it has a solenoid attached to the valve, and what you would do is you remove the solenoid, you install the pressure regulator, and then reinstall the solenoid valve. And then you can adjust the spray here right at the valve, or adjust this pressure. And if you'll watch, you can see a difference in the spray or the misting of the spray heads as we increase the PSI. Right now it's at about 25, and we're going to increase it. 30 is again kind of optimum, but once we get way up to 50, 60, 70 PSI, which is actually pretty high, you can see an incredible amount of misting that occurs in these pop-up spray heads. So it's really helpful to have pressure regulation somewhere along the system, and if you can have actually all three, then you're going to have much more control over the pressure and have much more efficient irrigation. Now let's take a look at some of the different types of irrigation heads that are available. Now, we already showed you the very common pop-up spray head that shoots out a fan-like pattern of water, and those are great for residential areas. They do again have that problem with misting, which can lead to evaporation and loss through wind. But again, look for products that have that pressure regulation built into them. Some of them have larger droplet sizes to help reduce that misting. Now, kind of the next generation is what we call a rotator head. And this type of head shoots out several streams of water as the head rotates around, thus reducing the amount of mist and increasing the efficiency. And then another type of head that is really designed probably for larger areas to cover large expansive turf space would be what we call a rotor type of head. And this one, if I pull it out here, you can see that it has actually one orifice and it shoots out one stream of water, and then this head just rotates back and forth across the area, shooting out that stream of water, again with less misting and much more efficiency. The other thing nice about this particular head is it also has an adjustment for the arc. In other words, the pattern in which the spray covers. So it can go from probably about a 40-degree spray to all the way around to a 360 degrees, which gives you a lot of flexibility in trying to cover odd-shaped areas. Another thing it has is an adjustment for the distance that the spray shoots. So again, you can make adjustments and fine-tune your irrigation system. Now, we have been focusing a lot on turf spray heads. Let's go take a look at some landscape areas. In landscape beds for flowers, shrubs, and trees, you have other options. Now actually you can see again this is a very common option or choice using pop-up spray heads in your shrub borders. But you can see we're still dealing with some problems here. This one's kind of an odd shaped bed or kind of oval shaped, and that makes it very difficult again to make it efficient and keep the sprays within the bed boundaries. So we often get a lot of overspray, and in this case we've got some muddy areas around it. We also have again the misting that is occurring on this particular system. So a better approach would be to convert this over to something that's more efficient, such as shrub heads and bubblers. And those are actually little heads that you would actually attach to a riser, and then they just shoot out streams of water or just bubble out. You can also use the drip irrigation system. There are the products such as this one, which has the spaghetti hose, and this part of the system here actually attaches to a riser again that's in the bed, and then you can direct these emitters or these tubes to individual plants or certain areas of the land of the bed, and depending on what you're again trying to cover, this particular system has emitters on it that just drip out. So this would be really for more individual plants. But you could also put micro spray heads on here where they again put out small micro sprays, and these all operate under gallons per hour versus the spray heads operate under gallons per minute. So you're putting out lower volumes of water and it's much more efficient. And then finally there's also the inline drip irrigation products that you can use. And this is tubing that you run throughout the bed. There are emitters installed inside the tubing, and the neat thing about some of these products is they also have pressure regulation at each of the emitters throughout the tubing, as well as self-cleaning systems that help keep them from getting clogged. These put water again right on the ground, right at the roots. You have less evaporation, less loss through wind. Well, the last tip I want to give you is how many times have you driven around town and seen irrigation systems running when it's pouring rain? Well, there really is a simple solution to that, and it's very inexpensive. You can buy a rain sensor, attach it to your controller. It attaches actually to your house, and you hook it up to your controller. And then when it rains, it senses the moisture, shuts your system off. Well, I hope these tips are helpful for you, to help you fine-tune your system, save water, and save money.